Hi, folks. Welcome back to Pop Pop Fizzle. I'm Jeff.
I'm Heidi.
And we're back with more of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. One of the longest titles to say of any of the shows that we watch, actually.
Really long.
Yeah,
Really
but that's
long
okay because it's a really fun show. Last week we had a situation where John Walker stepped into some really bad optics. Killed the friend of his enemy the way that his enemy killed his friend, and it looked very bad because it all happened in daylight, and it all happened with a lot of camera phones on aimed in his direction. So
the whole world was watching.
Yeah, as is the title of the episode. Yeah. This episode is titled Truth, so I'm very curious about where this is going, what the ramifications are going to be from last episode.
Yeah.
And you know, where Sam and Bucky end up as far as the Shield. We've seen some of the promos. I'm not spoiled on the episode, thankfully. We know that there's a mysterious guest star in this episode. We don't know who that's going to be, or at least I don't.
I'm excited.
You're not spoiled either.
I'm not spoiled.
Either. If I seem tired, it's because I literally just woke up. I slept about 3 hours last night, and I crashed for a nap, and now I'm just like brain dead. You won't be able to tell a difference because I always seem this way to you, but I feel very brain dead. Let's just put it that way.
I'm really excited to see this. I want to see where we pick up, if we're going to pick up right there on the street, or if we're going to move forward a couple of hours or a couple of days, or
who knows? A lot of questions. What will be the fate of John Walker? I really hope that he sticks around in the MCU. I hope we get the U.S. agent angle. And I hope they have a little bit of empathy. Somebody pointed out in our comments for the last episode that, they could have kind of come around John and tried to help a little bit, Sam and Bucky. And I get it. I get their feelings for sure. But once Sam gave the shield away, here's a guy that's unprepared for the world of superheroes. Maybe give him a leg up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious how all this is going to shake out, how Sam is going to get the shield back, because I assume that he is. And, what the ramifications are going to be for Walker, what Sharon Carter is up to in Madripoor.
We need to know that, too.
Who this mysterious guest star is going to be. I suspect Mephisto. No, I don't really.
It was Agatha.
All along?
Yeah.
Okay. But we're going to dive in and see what they have to show us in this episode. And then we only have one more episode left.
Oh, my goodness.
Penultimate
episode. It is. Oh, my gosh. And it is, how long is it? It is the same length as every other episode. Maybe.
It's a little longer.
About 5 minutes extra.
Yeah.
I think we need to be on the lookout for an extra credit scene.
Maybe for this one, yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll check that out when we get there. But anyway, in the meantime, before we get ahead of ourselves, if you want to see the uninterrupted version of this reaction, you can find that on Patreon. That link is always in the description. If you'd like to help us out through Cash App or Venmo or anything else, those links are always down there as well. But the main thing we want you to take away from this is support good content. If you like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, be sure and watch this on Disney Plus first before you watch our reaction or anybody else's reaction. Support the show itself. This is not a market substitute for that. And really, that's the way good content gets made. They need to see those numbers. So if you like the show, be sure and watch it there first. And then we're happy to have you watch along with us again and see what we have to say about it. We also like hearing what you have to think about the episode in the comments down below.
Thank you so much for liking, commenting, subscribing, all of the
typical YouTube
I was
things.
going to say all the YouTube's things.
Yes, YouTube's.com.
Yes.
That's right.
We probably don't need to know what YouTube's.com is. Surely YouTube must have purchased that address as well, but just in case we did not.
To steal a lick from Rhett and Link, don't Google that.
Yeah.
All right.
We did not promote that.
That's right. All right, we're going to dive into The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 5, Truth. He's not in a good place.
No. Oh. Putting blood all over everything.
Listen, it was the heat of the battle, okay? If you explain what happened, they may consider your record. We don't want anyone else to get hurt. You gotta give me the shield, man.
So that's what this is.
Yep.
Oh,
Why are you making me do that?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
easy.
Yeah, it's a shield, not a weapon.
This isn't you, John.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Cappy uses the weapon plenty.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And
Oh,
I'm-
that's right.
And I'm not sure taking off your head protection was smart.
Nope.
He's feeling the weight of some of that blood himself.
Yeah. Because for sure, if he hadn't given that shield to wherever.
Wait, yo, you forgot the wings.
Keep 'em.
Oh, and he will.
I lived my life by your mandates. I dedicated my life to your mandates. I only ever did what you asked of me, what you told me to be and trained me to do, and I did it. And I did it well.
Well, you can really see Kurt Russell in his face right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
You built me. Senator, I am Captain America.
Not anymore.
Is this our guest star?
Possibly.
Well, these boots are not made for walking.
Julia Louise Travis.
Oh,
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Actually, it's Contessa
Oh,
Valentina.
Okay,
Allegra.
she was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
Oh, by the way, don't worry about the shield. I know you don't have it. Here's a little dirty state secret. It doesn't really belong to the government. It's kind of a legal gray area.
They're not going to stop. Not unless we make them.
How well's that working out for you so far?
I don't know. That's the tantrum and a rambling of a child.
Yeah, and doubling down when things are already terrible is dumb.
The girl has been radicalized beyond salvation. I warned Sam, but he didn't listen to me. He's as stubborn as Steve Rogers before him. But you, they literally programmed you to kill.
A little nod. That Zemo gave him. He's unflinching in the face of that.
Yep.
Ladies, I took the liberty of crossing off my name in your book. I hold no grudges for what you thought you had to do. Goodbye, James.
Hey. I may have another favor to ask of you.
Leave it covered. Those stars and stripes don't mean nothing good to me.
But you were a super soldier like Steve. You could have been the next.
The next, what? Huh? Blonde hair, blue eyes, stars and stripes. The entire world's been chasing that great white hope since he first got dosed with that serum.
Steve did not put you in jail.
A couple of the boys get captured on a mission. I heard the brass talking about blowing the POW camp to hell to hide the evidence. But those are my men. My brothers, not evidence.
The exact same thing Steve
They weren't
did.
long before it was only me left. And what did I get for saving their lives?
What?
For the next 30 years, they experimented on me. They will never let a black man be Captain America. And even if they did, no self-respecting black man would ever want to be.
Well, somebody's got to be an example.
I get it.
Somebody's got to be an ideal, even if we live up to it imperfectly.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what's happening?
You're welcome. I called in a favor from the Wakandans. I'm Bucky.
I know who you are.
Sarah.
Aw.
Sounds like, what?
Guy, he's the one that killed our boy?
Yes. And I would never let the person who did that get away. I hope you can find some measure of peace in that.
Well, I think that lies for their sake, not his own.
I know.
So proud of you when they made you Captain America. And he would tell me every day what an honor it was to be your partner.
Finished? I can give you double this time. I promise you won't regret saying yes. So what's it gonna be?
Oh, is that Baytrock the Leaper? From the opening episode?
Oh.
He's French.
The legacy of that shield is complicated.
Sam's a southpaw?
When Steve told me what he was planning, I don't think either of us really understood what it felt like for the black men to be handed the shield. How could we? How you an apology?
You gotta stop looking to other people to tell you who you are.
You call me when you have a lead and I'll be there.
Rocky training portion of our program.
Ooh.
Sam screwed him out of a small fortune. Not long
Baytrock.
ago.
Yeah.
Been dying
Yeah.
to get paid back ever since.
So Sharon set this up.
Bonjour. Qu'est-ce que tu voulais? I'm only here to kill the Falcon.
You'll get your chance.
Oh, that was one of the guys from the park.
Yep. Ruh-roh.
But if Sam saves all of their butts, they're going to have to acknowledge him as Captain America.
Yep.
Let's see it.
Come on, come on, come on. Come on.
They're not going to show it to us until it's on him.
I know.
What you up to, John?
Oh. Oh.
All right.
Hey.
John is not done. All right. Just making sure. No, that's it. All right. That is it for another episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This episode, Truth. Heidi, your thoughts?
This is a great episode. Lots of resolutions, lots of story moving forward. You know, if we have been considering these 6 episodes as a 3-act thing, like a long movie, basically.
This is clearly the opening of the 3rd act.
And it's great. And the heroes are rallying, things are happening, the villains are trying to make a move. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I still feel a little bad for John Walker, mainly just because of all the circumstances that were out of his control.
Yeah, he was dealt a really bad hand.
Now, you know, his decision to do what he did in public with cameras on him is inexcusable. I get that. But I do feel bad for him. I feel a little bad for, you know, I don't feel bad for Zemo in the same way that I don't feel bad for Carly. They you know, they played a hand that they didn't need to play, and it costs a lot of people their lives, and they get what they get. But I really do like the sort of begrudging respect between Zemo and Bucky, just because I think and I think we said this, I don't remember if we said it on camera, but in talking about the last episode, you and I said basically that we think Zemo sees Bucky differently.
Yes.
Because he did not intentionally take that serum. He was a good man that had that forced on him and has had a lifetime of consequences because of it.
Yeah.
So I think Zemo sees him differently than he would see Walker, for instance.
For sure. And then Zemo, I couldn't even begin to expect that he would fight the Wakandans on his way out. He accepted that they wanted him for a reason, and you know he did the bombing to prove a point, but none of it was personal. So
Right.
he expects that they're going to want to punish him for what he did.
Sure.
And he also, I think, can accept their punishment more than the world's punishment.
Well, he understands that they want to punish him in the same way that he wanted to punish the Avengers because of something that he felt they had done to his family. He did to the Wakandans, and they want justice, just like he wanted justice. I think he understands that to some extent.
Yeah.
Now, whether he'll stay in prison or not, I doubt it.
Well,
but,
it is the raft. Nobody gets out like on their own.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Captain America broke some people out, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well.
Yes.
On their own.
Yes,
So.
but I wouldn't count Zemo out necessarily.
No,
we may have seen the last of him for this series. I don't know, but I feel like Daniel Bruhl does such a good job with that character, especially in this series. He's made him much more
human, likable.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't look at him and go, he's a good guy.
No.
Just like, like I said, I think he and Carly are kind of one and the same. They've done, for what they justify as good reasons in their minds, they've done terrible things. So I think he needs to be imprisoned the same way I think she does.
But I think, his is a mature resignation to his consequences, whereas I don't believe that if she has consequences to face, because we don't know if she's actually going to survive this, but if she has consequences to face, that she'll
feel like she doesn't deserve them.
Yeah, she'll honestly believe that she doesn't. Yeah, that she's
her
not
whole,
wrong.
Her whole thing is very juvenile.
Yeah.
And that's why I started to say during that scene in the park when all the people started getting up and wandering to her after she whistled, I was like, I want to say that people aren't that stupid, but they are. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, people are just that dumb. They convince themselves that a bad thing is a good thing, and then they just,
run with it. Because then they don't want to be wrong.
I love the stuff between Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie in this episode.
Yeah,
both of them,
so much fun.
It really always pays off to have talented actors especially when your characters are subtle. It would be easy to kind of look at Sam from the outside and say, well, it doesn't take a lot of subtlety because he's charming and he's got a little bit of swagger to him and whatever, because he's he doesn't have the weight of everything that the Winter Soldier has on him or whatever. So you would think that role would be easier, but I think it's actually the opposite. I think, playing off of, all these different characters in the MCU that he's had interactions with. Everybody from Steve to Tony Stark to, Ant-Man to whatever. And Anthony Mackie always feels comfortable and confident and, even when he's not.
Yeah, he's always a win.
And he does such a great job with that character that you always root for him no matter what's going on around him or who is acting opposite him. And I think Sebastian Stan likewise has a difficult job because he has to be, he has to carry the weight of sort of the damage that the Winter Soldier's done, while at the same time convey his friendship with Steve, which he always did very well, while also this sort of begrudging respect with Sam and kind of their finding a friendship in the midst of all of this. And I feel like both of those men brought their A game to this episode with the way they portrayed that sort of burgeoning friendship. Like, they're not quite ready to be pals, but they have a respect now that is not, it's not Steve's respect. Steve's not the bridge between them anymore. So, and that's what I like. So you can see that the sort of growing nature of their relationship is not that Steve went to the ends of the earth for Bucky, so he has to be okay.
Yeah.
Or Steve thought that Sam was good enough to leave that shield to. He has to be okay. They're not using Steve to bridge that gap between them. They're actually finding a commonality together. And I feel like we really saw that in this episode.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Like, to me, that was what I was curious about for this series was, can they make these two guys who, you know, have been played for comedy with their sort of dislike, or not dislike, but just sort of their grumpiness with each other.
Yeah.
Can we build a friendship here that's believable and do it, you know, do it in six episodes? And I feel like they have.
They really have.
You know, and that's not to say that they're, like I said, that they're pals, but there's a respect for each other that they have now that doesn't require Steve. And I think that's a great step forward for these two in their place in the MCU.
The first scene where they were practicing with the shield, Sam kept talking, and I was like, man, he is totally head shrinking him. What is going on? Does he even need his therapy? And I was like, oh yeah, he counseled soldiers.
That's what he did.
That's what he did. He is doing the same. The reason why he can't apply the same principles just because, you know, it's been 60 years since Bucky was actually, or more than 60 years since Bucky was actually in the military. You know, this is a good thing. This is helping him move forward too. So it's just another building block in their relationship, which I just love.
So clearly John Walker not out of the fight yet, building a shield of his own. I'm guessing we'll see that next episode.
I was going to say, clearly John Walker is slightly out of his mind still.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus appears as the Contessa. The Contessa, I'll tell you this because I know you don't have a frame of reference for that character.
Nope.
The Contessa was closely tied to Nick Fury in the comics. That's old dude, white Nick Fury, not Samuel L. Jackson, new Nick Fury, which it gets confusing, especially if you're only watching the MCU, because there are two versions of Nick Fury in the Marvel Comics. There's old school World War II Nick Fury who founded S.H.I.E.L.D., old white guy. Then there's Nick Fury Jr., who looks very much like Samuel L. Jackson and is in mainstream continuity. But that's not how it started. And so, you know, they basically had an alternate universe, the Ultimate series, that had Nick Fury looking like Samuel L. Jackson in that reality. And they purposely made him look like Samuel L. Jackson.
Sure.
And then Samuel L. Jackson took the role because that made sense. You know, they started the MCU. Hey, let's just get Sam Jackson to play that role. So they did. But in the comic book version of the MCU, there have been two different Nick Furies. Old school Nick Fury, World War II Nick Fury, non-Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury, had a group of people within S.H.I.E.L.D. that he had known since, you know, World War II-ish, and then into Cold War era. And all of them had some sort of, I think it's called the Infinity Serum, which is kind of a version of the Captain America serum that's a little bit different, but it kind of halts their aging a little bit so that they were able to be in, you know, modern Marvel comics. The Contessa was a love interest / double agent / who knows, like, you know, weird mixed history of spy thrillers, you know, it's different every book.
So she's a question mark.
So she's a question mark in this. I don't know whether she is, you know, former S.H.I.E.L.D. and thinking that she can put a team together with John Walker of heroes that are loyal to the government, and maybe that's the angle, or if she's Hydra and double agent for the government, or like what she is. I was going to say,
is John Walker even loyal to the government anymore? I don't think so. I think he might be loyal to the country, but not to the government.
Right. And I feel like that was a good, you know, that scene is as far off the mark as John Walker is. And some of that I have to attribute to the serum, because Carly described so well how messed up they were after they took the serum for a bit. Mm-hmm. Obviously not all of it. That doesn't excuse anything, but he's dealing with a lot. So I feel like him saying, though, you built me, you know, you did. I've been following everything that you've told me to do, and this is what I get for it. I think for him feels the same way that Isaiah Bradley feels about, you know, I did this thing for my country and I got imprisoned for it. You know, they didn't throw John Walker in prison, which I think is another
disparity.
It's another disparity, and it's another interesting look at modernity in the U.S. and you know. police outcomes and court outcomes and things like that when it comes to crime and things. And I don't think either of these two committed a crime that's worthy of what they got handed.
Right. So each one of them did everything that they were supposed to do.
Sure.
Took everything that they were supposed to take, and each made that one decision that was completely different from what they were told to do, and
Sure.
were punished for it.
Sure. And
But
you can
not
argue
the same way.
you can argue the morality of their actions. Like soldiers do things all the time that in peacetime we would say, well, that's not a moral thing to do, but in the cause of defending a nation, they are sometimes called upon to do terrible things. You can question the morality of something like that, but for a soldier, they're given orders and they're expected to follow them, or there are consequences. And right or wrong, that's just how it is. And so for someone like Isaiah Bradley to, step out from under that control to help his men, to do what he felt was the right thing.
To do what Steve did.
To do what Steve did in the first Avenger, exactly, as a mirror point of that, and have the outcome be so completely different. Because the government had secrets that they wanted to keep. Now, had the war ended and Steve Rogers been Captain America, we don't know what would have happened or how they would have tried to employ Steve Rogers.
This is true.
In the interim. Like, there's a lot of question marks about, who's in charge of the government when, who's in charge of this division when, who knows these are unknowable things. But at the time that Isaiah Bradley was in operation, he was done really, really wrong. Yeah. And maybe in the course of his, super soldier career, he may have done some things that we would find morally questionable, but he followed orders. He did what he was told. Likewise, John Walker did what he was told to a certain extent, or at least, within the authority that he thought that he had. Bad optics, bad stuff. And so they're throwing him away because we don't want to deal with your mess. You made a mess, and now it makes us look bad, so we're just going to sweep you under the rug and put you away. And that seemed to be what Julia Louis-Dreyfus was getting at. Like,
Yeah.
don't let them do that to you. You can still be of use. But and I think of course she'll prey upon his feeling like he was done dirty.
Yeah, and still some insecurity because
Sure.
because
he feels like he doesn't just feel like he failed, in fighting the Dora Milaje or in putting Zemo back in jail or in keeping the shield or any of those things, but he feels like he failed being Captain America, and his name and his face are plastered all over the country, and he feels like a giant failure. So that's an easy thing for people to prey upon with bad intentions.
So we'll see how that works out. We've only got one episode to go to explore that. Really did just love every part of this episode. It did feel like an hour long to me. It did.
I think I was just so caught up in it, I just didn't.
Yeah, but I love all the sections that we got to see. I love to see the fight between John Walker and Bucky and Sam.
Now, what are your thoughts on Sharon Walker? Because we know that she hired Baytrock. Sharon Walker. Sharon Carter. Sorry. Tired.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. I honestly was so surprised to see her that it just kind of caught me off guard. So I wasn't sure what to think.
Clearly Baytrock she was talking to. Clearly, because he had all of that action in the first episode took place over Algeria. She said something about getting him out of an Algerian prison. If it wasn't for me, you'd be stuck there.
Yeah.
And now he's bringing weapons to the people that are out to hurt the GRC. So I don't know. That doesn't look good for Sharon for sure.
No.
Unless she's playing both sides against the middle, or if she's got some sort of angle that we don't see yet, but we clearly don't see any angle other than it seeming like she's up to no good.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Like, I really didn't expect to see her. So with one episode to go, having that thread kind of going through everything else was an oddity. I wasn't expecting it, so I kind of am not sure what to think about it, and then what to speculate on for the next episode. Obviously, it means something. There's going to be something that happens. I'm more or less speculating we're going to get 2 end credit scenes for this next one.
Okay.
So that's my only speculation. Everything else is kind of up in the air.
I want to see. I want to say I've seen a lot of comments online and a lot of people that praised WandaVision, but are having a problem with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Some because it feels too close to the Marvel stuff that they've already seen, and I get that. I mean, it is supposed to be, feeling like a Marvel movie, except that they've got a little more time to dig into characters. But the other complaint that I see is that it's too quote unquote political, and I don't. I understand. I understand the notion. I understand that you want your TV shows or your movies to be escapist in nature. I tend to prefer that as well. But I don't think, you can argue that maybe a line here or there was a little heavy-handed, but I don't feel like you can argue that these things aren't important things to discuss and real. And what makes fantasy, which comic books are, superhero fantasy, what makes fantasy work is to have grounded real-world emotional ties to the characters in the story. So somebody needs to be able to identify with. There are so many important aspects to having a Black Captain America, understanding what that would be like, and the responsibility and the sort of uncomfortable nature of following a man like Steve Rogers, who was just crazy stalwart in how he approached everything, and kind of a righteous dude, who I don't feel like always got things right. I mean, I disagree with plenty of his actions in Civil War, but at the same time, because he was such held up as like the pinnacle of everything, if you're Sam Wilson, of course you're going to question yourself. Of course you're going to, and I don't think that's necessarily a black or a white thing. I think it's just, he was Steve freaking Rogers, so you'd question yourself. Add to that the fact that he's an African American in America, with some of the real world problems that we have. I think those are very real things to look at, and I don't feel like they're overly political. And I haven't felt at any point in this series like I was being beaten over the head with a hammer.
No.
Because I don't know. Here's the thing. Nobody's a monolith. White people aren't a monolith. Black people aren't a monolith. Asian people aren't a monolith. We're all individuals. We all have individual stories. So Isaiah Bradley's story is his story. That doesn't mean that Sam Wilson's story will follow the same path, no matter how afraid Isaiah is that that's what's going to happen to him. Just like, Bucky has all these fears about, what could become of him if there's something still in there, even though Wakanda's told him he's free, and they proved it to him, basically. Yeah. He still carries the fear of that because he's an individual, and we all as individuals struggle with things that other people just don't understand. Yeah. So, Isaiah Bradley's experience as a black man in America doesn't necessarily equate to Sam Wilson's experience as a black man in America, and that doesn't necessarily equate to my experience as a white man in America, or hers as a woman in America, or anything. Like, we're all individuals. So it doesn't, so it doesn't hurt us to be not confronted with, but to see and partake in somebody else's story, and to kind of try to put ourselves into their shoes a little bit, to ask ourselves some of these questions,
or to have it revealed to us and to examine it. Those are important things for these types of things to show us. So I'm not, like you said, I don't feel like I've been beaten over the head with anything either. Isaiah's story is so tragic, and I hate it. And the thing that life,
given the era that he came up in.
Right, I was going to say, and the thing that I hate
that the military did, unfortunately,
I hate the most is that it is very plausible. Like it definitely could have happened, if there were super soldiers and that sort of thing.
But as a married couple, Heidi and I have conversations all the time where she'll be explaining something to me about something in her past or something at work or something that I just don't have a frame of reference for, because I've never been in her shoes. And so all I can do is listen and try to understand and ask questions of her when I can, and vice versa. There are things that I've experienced that she's never experienced, and we talk about those things and we listen to each other. That's always the best thing. So I don't know what it's like to be a black man in America, but I can listen to people, and I can try my best to have empathy and to, speak up when I think something's unfair or not right. And there's a lot of things to speak up about on all sides, in all places. There's just a lot of things because we're all individuals and we all go through our fair share of crap, some more than others.
And we're messy.
And so, yeah, I for one, appreciate the fact that, I'm not getting beaten over the head with a hammer of, here's
Justice.
what you should think. But they're presenting me with, here's a reality that some people face. Maybe we should think about that. And, and the same is true of Carly. Like, I think Carly is a villain. I don't have any sympathy for Carly, but I do understand how someone that is in a situation like she's been in can be radicalized in the way that she has been to do stupid and harmful things to other people. I don't approve of it. I think she's a villain, but I understand how she got there. I understand the steps. I understand that a lot of bad things were piling up in her world that caused her to become this thing that she is. So I think that's helpful, and I think that's what good fiction does for us.
So this is by far, and that's I'm surprised. So I thought you were going to say that there are people who didn't care for WandaVision who are loving this, and I feel like there's probably
I think you'll probably find that group as well. But yeah, for some reason, and here's the thing, and comic book fans will always point this out to you, so please don't be surprised when you if you start one of these arguments on Twitter and get ratioed pretty hard. Comics have always been political. The very first Captain America comic book cover is him punching Hitler in the face. Batman and Superman all throughout the 30s fought Nazis and communists and all kinds of that. Like, comics have always been political. Now, depending on who's in power, the politics of comics may swing back and forth. They're probably going to be left a lot because artistic people tend to lean left. But either way, no matter who's in charge of what book, they're always somewhat political because they're dealing with real world issues, and politics are a part of the real world. That's just how it is. So, so I'd encourage you, if you're one of those people that feel like this has been too heavy-handed, to instead of looking for how they're trying to thump you over the head with a lesson, instead just try to put yourself in the shoes of any of these characters and think about how you would feel if you were in their shoes and what that would mean to you and how you would approach it. Maybe you'd approach it differently than Isaiah Bradley or Sam Wilson or Bucky Barnes or any of these people. Maybe you wouldn't. But I think it's good to ask ourselves these questions, and I think that's what fiction's for. So that's it. That's our thoughts for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier Truth. We will be back with the finale next week.
Oh, boy.
It's kind of crazy. This one's gone by so fast.
This has gone by really, really fast. And then the next one Loki won't be up until June 11th is, I think, the last date I heard.
And we're looking forward to that one, too. We'll be back for that for sure.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that.
All right, that's it for us. Until next time, folks.
Bye.
Bye.